Good afternoon to you all. Thank you for getting into this third session of our Transportation Forum. We are about to start the second last conference of this excellent forum that we're doing here in NHL. I am Sergio, developer of business and transportation for Latin America. I invite you to share something in social media, photos, or your experience of how you're living this event using the hashtag DHLTF2020 to keep on with the conversation. And well, to reimagine the future of transportation, we have Gina Chung, which is responsible in the Innovation Center of America for the DHL. This is a platform that was especially designed to involve companies and other parties involved in the future of logistics. Gina has more than 7 years of experience in transformation of logistics through digitalization. She has several projects that have robotics as a main axis and artificial intelligence in all logistic operations. Before this position, she was several years in Germany and studied the trends in the DHL and also made papers like the Internet of Things in logistics and other things that were very well received in the industry. She lives in Chicago and has 2 bachelor's degrees from Oakland University. It's an honor to have you here. And well, from DHL Supply Chain, we also have Joel Alonso Contreras, who is executive of transport transformation in DHL Mexico and has more than 14 years of experience in supply chain, planning of production, and advisory. He is responsible for transformation processes in Latin America and Mexico. He has also collaborated globally with different areas including storing, manufacturing, and transportation. Joel is an industrial engineering for the University of Puebla and has a bachelor degree of business administration in the IPADE. Welcome, Joel. And also, we have Hector Lanzagorta, who is executive in the solution design area in DHL Mexico. He is also leader of transportation for LATAM and has 13-year experience in DHL supply chain. He has developed prototypes for every type of the business in transportation in North and South America. He also has implemented several operational changes and continuum enhancement. With more than 14 years of experience in advisory and engineering, he has developed new ways to have a better experience for clients in DHL. Experience he has is in mapping of processes, reducing risk, and consultancy. He is chemical engineering for Tec de Monterrey. And this conference will be partially in English, but I remind you, you can have a simultaneous translation for Spanish and Portuguese. You can select the languages on top. Y bueno, empezando con esta sesión, es un placer para mí introducir a Chong, a Joel y a Héctor a la conferencia Imaginando el futuro del transporte. Gina, es tu escenario. Muchas gracias, Sergio.
Innovation Center. I have the pleasure of working with also my counterparts in Singapore, as well as in Germany, to collectively look at what are some similar trends that we see emerging across different industry verticals. So today, what I planned with our team in Mexico is to share with you a little bit about those global trends. And then in part two, I'm going to hand over to Joel and Hector, who are going to share a bit more about what we're seeing locally in Mexico. We also have a little bit of time for a Q&A, so I really am interested to hear from you. How do you see some of these trends? So as you think of any questions, please note them down and ask them after my part of the presentation or after both of our parts at the very end. So looking forward to it. But moving to the next slide, if we really kickstart our presentation, before diving right into what are some of those logistics trends, I wanted to take a couple of steps back and talk about, why are we so invested into innovation and why is it such a priority? And one of the things that I like to talk about is, what's driving all of this is not robotics. What's driving all of this isn't new technologies. What's driving us to even have conversations like we're having today is the changes that we're seeing with consumers. It's the changes that we're seeing with our customers, and it's the changes that we're seeing also with our very own workforce. And employing over 550,000 people globally, when we see that our workforce want to have more digital ready solutions, we got to also deliver on that expectation as well. So, in a nutshell, we see that in this digital era, we want to get that same experience in the workplace that we also get as consumers. And today, as consumers, we're more empowered more than ever before to be able to order anything that we want online all around the world. We have visibility through fantastic solutions like Amazon Prime or Walmart Plus that's now coming up in the next couple of weeks, that we can order things online and get it shipped to our door within the next 2 days, next day, and soon same day delivery. So the question, of course, then becomes, if it's so easy to order things online and get things delivered and see where my shipment is and return things so seamlessly, why can't I get that experience in the B2B world? And just to give you an example of some of the changes that are happening and how fast these things are happening, here in the US, I'm currently in Chicago. That's where I've been the last 6 months during quarantine. We have over 100 million users of Prime, the next kind of 2 days, next day service from Amazon. So you can imagine at least 1 in 3 people are used to now, since many years, having this premium service and premium logistics service at almost zero cost. And where I live in Chicago, through the acquisition of Whole Foods, it's a big supermarket chain here in the US, we're offered as Prime members free 2 hour delivery of groceries. So you can imagine the tremendous challenge this presents to people, to our customers in retailing, for our customers in the consumer sector, to be able to keep up with these changing consumer expectations. Another example of just how insatiable the growth in e-commerce and customer experience is Alibaba. So the big Chinese e-commerce giant that is also making inroads into Mexico. Alibaba, as one example, they have this 24-hour sales period that they call Singles Day. So on the 11th of November, so just in around 2 months' time, we're going to see their next Singles Day sale. I'm very interested what the results are going to be because of coronavirus, growing e-commerce volumes over the last months. But essentially, every year they have this 24-hour sales event where people log online, they get discounts that are valid for a short period of time. And it's just a mass shopping event online that for Alibaba enables them to have over $38 billion worth of revenue captured in a 24-hour sales period. And one part is obviously the incredible amount of money that they make in a 1 day online shopping sale. But then they also have to execute all of those orders, those millions and millions of orders through their supply chain rapidly. And innovation technology is a key enabler of Alibaba being able to meet those customer expectations. And last but not least, the workforce, one changing part of that workforce is just the demographic makeup. So it's estimated at the moment that in the next 5 years, roughly around 63% of the global workforce will consist of millennials and Gen Zers. So you can see there, as employers, we have to be adopting the latest solutions so that people come to the workplace for the latest and greatest, and we're not handing our workforce of the future those old RF guns with green font on a black screen. So on this screen, we see that the digital opportunity is huge, and the market has been responding to these changes that have been happening in our industry. So I spend a bit of time in the innovation ecosystems of Boston and Silicon Valley and Israel back when I was in Germany. And just since the last 8 years, over $30 billion has been poured into enabling new logistics startups to form to help make our industry more efficient and more effective. So our current estimate is that there's over around 2,400, probably much more now, thanks to coronavirus startups developing robotic solutions, developing analytic solutions, developing platforms for us as logistics providers and professionals to leverage and provide better customer experience and better operations. So, given all of these changes, if we move to the next slide, a big question that we try to answer is how do we stay ahead of the curve? There's so much happening with our customers, there's so much happening with our workforce, there's all sorts of different solutions on the market. How do we actually keep on top of things and make sure that we're not falling behind? And if you click once more, the approach that we take at DHL is we try to apply an approach called customer-centric innovation. So if you click once more, we should have an animation come. There, the approach is essentially listening to our customers, hearing from you what's important, what we should focus on, and then we take that internally to then shape our development efforts. And this, how we actually bring that to life is through our innovation centers. Our innovation centers are kind of the physical embodiment of our customer-centric innovation approach. So these are facilities that we've purpose-built for our customers. So really for you to use, to have discussions about the challenges that you face in your supply chain and what we can do together as DHL and your organization to collaborate and drive new solutions. As I mentioned, we have 2 other centers in Germany and Singapore. And if you move to the next slide, we have also regional innovation corners, one in Mexico and several others in Central and South America. But these purpose-built facilities are really for you to use. And one action that I have from this presentation is a shameless plug. If you would like to take a virtual tour of our innovation center, it's roughly around 90 minutes long with your team. Please reach out to us or the team, your local DHL contact, and we can organize a virtual tour and start those discussions already today. So moving on to the next slide. This is a video on our Mexico Innovation Corner. We actually launched these 2 facilities back to back last year. So the one here in Chicago in September of 2019, the one in Mexico in October of 2019, and together with the teams in Mexico and also in our other innovation corners, we're working nonstop to bring some of these innovations to these corners, to the innovation center, so that you can see some of these solutions in action, and it makes it a lot more tangible. Moving to the next slide. I wanted to show a little bit about the Innovation Center because this is really how we get some of the customer-centric insights that shape our future innovation strategy and roadmap. And collectively, across the 3 centers and these innovation corners, we engage over 15,000 different logistics professionals, as well as innovators from different industry verticals. And we use those insights to really, really listen and figure out, hey, our customers are talking a lot about this specific trend. That's where we should start focusing on. And moving to the next slide. The ultimate way that we share some of those insights is through what we call our logistics trend radar. And this is a document, it's a tool that we publish every 2 years. And actually the newest trend radar for the year 2020-2021 is going to be published September 22nd. So you should mark that on your calendars. So the trend radar is a tool that we use to look at what are the top 20 to 30 different trends that are going to be very relevant for us over the next 5 to 10 years. On the right-hand side, you see some of the technology trends that we can leverage to either improve the customer experience by making it seamless and digital, technologies that we can also use in our operations to increase efficiency, increase safety. And then on the left-hand side, which is very important, are all the different social and business trends. So what I mentioned with consumers changing, customers changing, our workforce changing. So these changes we need to really monitor so that we're able to develop new capabilities and services that allow us to stay ahead of the curve. But we also listen to these trends so that we can reflect it in our own business. For example, creating more of a future of work element to the way that we do business. So the trend radar is a great tool for you to use when you're talking about the future of logistics. We also have it as a kind of full-on document online as well as a hard copy so that you can reference what do each of these trends actually mean, what are the use cases, what are the benefits, and what are the challenges. Um, we also have used the trend radar greatly with our customers the last 6 months to discuss how has coronavirus COVID-19 impacted or accelerated some of the trends. And moving to the next slide, I've just highlighted a couple of the different trends that we've seen accelerate thanks to coronavirus. So give you one example on there, omni-channel, that's all about the seamless offline and online experience. We've seen with many of our customers who were kind of looking into e-commerce, maybe it was a small segment of their sales. Now we've shifted entire retail distribution centers into e-commerce distribution centers. E-commerce, more labor intensive, more picks, more orders. We've also seen an acceleration of robotics. So how can we use robots to enable physical distancing in a warehouse? How can we use robots to stabilize operations when people couldn't even travel into a warehouse to work? And then another trend that's accelerated is the demand for more visibility through IoT, through sensors. So those are just some of the ways that we use it to figure out what will be even more important for us to focus on. And then, of course, we use this to discuss the future of transportation, so the topic of today's presentation. So in the next couple of slides, I wanted to highlight a couple of the trends on the radar and how we're seeing them being used in the world of transportation. So starting with that seamless customer experience. So we're doing a lot in our operations, and today Joel, Hector, and I will cover what some of those innovations are. But why we are doing these innovations is ultimately for our customers, so that we can provide you a seamless digital customer experience, so that we can provide you with the visibility and analytics that you need to do your business. So one example here is our My Supply Chain tool that's already developed that we're continuously investing into. This enables our customers to have kind of a one-stop shop to look at inventory, to do track and trace, to do customer service, to do have operational analytics, instead of you having to go to 5 or 10 different systems and logging in and trying to make sense of it all. So this is really what we're all aiming towards with the innovations that we're implementing. But what are some of the ones specifically in operations? So if you move to the next slide, one of the things that we can start with is IoT. So IoT we see as a trend that is really fundamentally reshaping the logistics industry. So in the future, anything that can be tracked, that should be tracked, will have a sensor on it to submit all sorts of different data. But what we're seeing today is many of our customers in life sciences, automotive, high tech, are leveraging these ultra low cost sensors to understand in real time where are their shipments, what is going to be my real time ETA, or when can I predict, how can I better predict the ETA? And they're also using it to monitor whether their shipments are damaged, whether their shipments have gone out of the temperature boundaries that they've set, to again better operationalize their supply chain. And where this is all headed is sensors that will ultimately be so low cost and so small that we're going to see sensors embedded at the product level, enabling transparency from manufacturing to delivery to its final use in the hands of your end customer. And the example that you see on this slide is a small sensor from Wiliot. It's a sensor that's as small as a post stamp that you can attach to a pallet or a shipment. And this sensor has eternal battery life because it's continuously taking energy from different radio frequency waves, so that you never have to recharge the sensor. It can last forever. So we're currently experimenting this sensor with a couple of our customers to really understand where is it going to really benefit supply chains. But this is really where the future is headed. Moving to the next slide. It's not just about sensors. So, anybody can take a sensor and slap it onto a pallet, but you also need to have the analytics and the control tower to then make sense of the data and take action. So Joel and Hector have some examples of what we're doing. Actually, Mexico is the country for DHL globally that's really spearheading a lot of our IoT implementations and analytics. But one different example is how we can use data to also minimize disruptions in supply chains, minimize to manage risk. And this is very timely. I wanted to highlight it because of coronavirus this year. So this is a tool that DHL has developed called Resilience 360. We actually have now spun it out into its own company. But over 100 of our customers use Resilience 360 to monitor any sort of risks that might disrupt their supply chain. This could be weather, this could be congestion, this could be suppliers going bankrupt, or suppliers getting bad press, and managing all sorts of different risks associated with your brand. So how this works is one example. We have a tier one automotive customer, and they produce all around the world, but China and Wuhan is actually where they have their main production plant. What we do is we initially map their supply chain. So where are all your factories? Where are all your distribution centers? Where are all the main modes of transportation? And once we've mapped your supply chain on this platform, we switch it on. And then in near real time, 24/7, you're going to get alerts about any risks that might severely impact your supply chain. And for this particular automotive customer of ours, they got early reports from Resilience 360, our tool, that Wuhan was going to go into lockdown, and that there was going to also be port closures and port congestion. There was going to be capacities cut with different airlines. So our customer and our DHL operations use this information to then do a couple of things. Our customer pushed production forward so that they can produce more before the lockdown. They also then switched their transportation from ocean and air to rail, from China to Europe, because it was going to avoid some of that congestion. And they estimated that by using some of the information on Resilience 360 and operationalizing it, that they had a cost avoidance of 100 million euros, which is very significant and a great example of how you can use data, operationalize it in your supply chain, and avoid disruptions that can be very costly. So moving on to the next example of using analytics very closely to that in transportation is route optimization. So there are many different companies doing route optimization, but now with today's technology and AI, there's so many ways that you can use it to do dynamic route optimization with pickups and deliveries, and then other events that happen during your planned route, you can change it. So here we've been partnering with a startup that uses AI for that dynamic route optimization that also incorporates the feedback of our drivers. So our drivers, they get the planned route, they get a pickup, it reroutes based on the most optimal path. And if our drivers feel like they still know the better way of doing it, they're able to ignore it. If they have any tips, they can also let the platform know, and that incorporates it into the algorithm. So it's another great example of how we're using technology to make our operations more efficient, and also help our employees and not force them to use a tool, but it's really a tool that's at their aid. Moving to the next example, we're going to get a bit more operational and a bit more future forward. Is once you're having an efficient delivery happening, what happens then in the DC? And one thing that we've been looking at, and if you play the video on this slide, is container loading and unloading robotics. So if you have just one slide back, if you can use robotics to help you unload your container. So this particular solution is from Copal. It is a robotic solution that you can put into a container, and then you can unload it autonomously by taking the cases line by line. But we're also looking at other robotic solutions that can take pallets as well from the container and bring it into the warehouse. That is still, I think, maybe 2, 3 years away from widespread adoption, but it is something that is definitely coming, and early pilots that we've done here in the US are showing very favorable ROI. So that's just another way that we can see automation making our operations more efficient. On this slide, you see an example of robotics then actually in the warehouse, helping to optimize picking, helping to optimize put away. So these robots are called locust bots. They essentially integrate with the WMS so that they navigate to the next location, and you, as the order picker, actually just stay in your aisle. So instead of walking around aisle to aisle picking an order, you just stay in that one aisle, go to the robot, and then the robots can actually then collect the orders and then take it to the packing area. And this robot we actually have at our innovation center. So again, if you want to do that virtual tour, we can do a live demo for you. But we're seeing a lot of different warehousing robotics that's coming up that we'll see being used heavily across supply chains worldwide to enable more efficiency, but to also help our workforce. Moving on to the next slide. It's not just all about efficiency. We're also looking at innovations that help us enable more safety in warehousing and transportation. And we have a trend on the radar called bionic enhancements. So this is all to do with the wearables and the exoskeletons that we can leverage to help our workforce. And this particular solution is one that we've piloted and have implemented in one of our DHL business units. We've currently done a pilot at over 30 sites with our DHL supply chain business unit. And what it does is it's a wearable device that you can attach to your belt, and it detects whether you are lifting, twisting, or reaching correctly. And if you're reaching incorrectly, it gives you a vibration and an alert. It'll just remind you to make sure that you're lifting with your knees so that you avoid injuries, back injuries. And this is very important for us, especially here in the US, where if you have a back injury, obviously it's very bad for our employees. We want them to be safe, but it also has a financial cost. So the average cost of a back injury in the US is around $40,000. So also by reducing the back injuries, it helps our workforce, and it also helps us avoid those costly claims that pile up when you have several hundred sites across the country. Moving to the next slide, another example of how we're operationalizing some of these trends is the use of low-cost sensors and artificial intelligence. So this here is an example of a solution we developed together with our customer. So here the challenge that we had was, and if anybody here is into dimensioning, so measuring freight, you typically do it manually with a tape measure, or you use a laser scanner, which is traditionally quite expensive. So what we did was we took a very low cost device, used then the AI to then develop the algorithm that can accurately capture the width, height, and length of a shipment. And it can be an irregular shipment like we see here in this video. And that enables us to have better accuracy of the actual dimensions of the freight. That makes it useful for pricing, that makes it useful for load optimization. And this solution is 3 to 4 times cheaper than the industry standard. So we had it just certified for trade in Europe. We're getting the trade certification for North America next year. And we have also our first pilot happening hopefully very soon in Mexico. But by getting more and more data about your shipments, you can also then use it to optimize your packaging. We're also using this master data to then figure out which packaging should you use, small, medium, large, tie that in with pricing information so that our customers' shipments are always going out in the most optimized manner. Moving to the next slide, very topical is also just generally the topic of packaging. So I can share with you as a sneak preview for the new trend radar coming out in a few weeks' time that we will have a separate trend just on packaging called rethinking packaging. And this is because we've listened to our customers, and it doesn't matter which industry sector, all of our customers want to find ways that we can make packaging more sustainable and have more reusable packaging solutions. And I think each of us know as consumers how much waste there is in packaging these days. So we're looking at things like biodegradable shrink wrap. So we use plastic shrink wrap in every single warehouse, and we've seen a new solution on the market that's fully biodegradable at the same cost as the plastic shrink wrap. So there, hopefully, it'll be a no-brainer for us to switch over to that. We're looking at things like biodegradable inner packaging. That's more friendly to the industry. We've seen pallets that are made out of coconut husks that are even more sustainable. So things like that we're exploring with our customers to really see how we can make sure that packaging is done in a more sustainable way. And moving to the next and final slide on some of these trends, we have one on the radar called self-driving vehicles. So that's all about autonomous trucking, autonomous delivery vehicles. And still today, I would say it's very far away. Just due to the regulations, due to the technology. We don't have autonomous trucks that can drive in all 4 seasons. However, I do think it is a trend that we will see in our hopefully in our lifetimes, because the data is pointing that we will have a shortage of drivers. And I work very closely with our trucking subsidiary here in the US. And I think their average age of a truck driver is around 52, 55 years old. So you can imagine just in the next 10 to 15 years, we're going to have to find ways to get that labor. It's very difficult even today. So I think autonomous trucking will have a role to play. And I'm excited to share that actually this week, we just announced a partnership with a startup called Ike. And they're developing autonomous trucking retrofitting kits, so you can take an existing truck, retrofit it, and make it autonomous. And we hopefully will be testing some autonomous routes with our customers in North America sometime next year, and try to understand how many years away is this technology, and what might we need to do already today to prepare for it. So that was just a glimpse into the future of supply chain. If you move to my final slide, where do I think this is all going? Today, we see all across warehouses and supply chains, be it in Mexico, be it in Singapore, be it in the UK, we have supply chains that are generally very manual and very physically intensive. We have a lot of manual processes that are very repetitive. And what I see tomorrow with all of this technology and all of these solutions coming to market is we'll see highly efficient supply chains that have also safer processes through examples like I shared with the wearables, that's also more sustainable. So I think those are kind of the mega trends that we see driving the future of transportation. And I think that with that, I'd like to end my presentation and open it up for some Q&A. Thank you. Okay, great. So the question was, will accelerate because of coronavirus?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I mentioned a couple like e-commerce, robotics, visibility. I think those trends will definitely stay. I think for companies, whether it's logistics or different industries, I think one trend will be remote work or finding ways for hybrid work. So for us as DHL, that was a particularly tough challenge, given that we're in the business of physically moving shipments, physically operating vehicles and facilities, and switching that all over virtually for the large part was a challenge. But I think we've done a fantastic job doing that the last couple of months. And I know that that will definitely change the way that we do business, that the way that we also serve our customers as well.
We have one more question, Gina. What do you think is required from an organization to adopt these new trends and innovation successfully?
That's a great question. So, if you look back at my presentation, you might think that's a whole lot of technology, that's a whole lot of solutions. But it actually is so much more to operationalize these innovations in our operations. And one of the things that I always like to emphasize is the change management piece. Some of these technologies, be it collaborative robotics, it's a whole new way of operating a warehouse. And you can't just take it and implement it into a warehouse. You need to do this collaboratively with your teams, with your leadership teams. So I think change management will be a key piece for any company looking to drive a digital supply chain agenda.
Gina, we have another question. What challenges and timeline do you see for autonomous vehicles? You mentioned that during your presentation.
Yes, I think autonomous vehicles will start a lot first in China, in the US, and then it'll filter its way to other regions eventually. Some of the challenges that we see today is from the business model. So I know a lot of startups who are struggling to really commercialize the autonomous trucking model today. I think the other part is technology. So it has to be robust. It's a different story when you have a self-driving vehicle, that's a passenger vehicle, versus a self-driving truck that's carrying extremely heavy loads. Safety has to be robust. And if you're driving in very snowy conditions, autonomous truck has to be able to navigate that safely. So I think level 5 autonomy, which is when you don't have a driver behind the wheel, that's still many years away. I think we'll see the first implementations of autonomous trucking with a driver still in the cabin to make sure that and take over control when there's an issue that the autonomous truck can't handle. Yeah.
Thank you, Gina. One more question here. What is the source of information for the 360 Resilience program?
So the Resilience 360 platform incorporates data from various different sources. They use DHL's internal operational data, which is kind of the secret sauce because we operate globally. We are at the ports, we're at the airports, so we can provide those insights into the Resilience 360 platform. We also have a whole bunch of data coming externally. So we partner with pretty much every major data provider imaginable, from weather data. We look over social media data. We take in financial data to monitor supplier risk, and we harmonize that into the Resilience 360 platform.
Thank you very much, Gina. Now we are going to pass to the second phase of the conference. Thank you very much. We are going to change to Spanish. Bueno, ahora nos toca platicar acerca de las innovaciones
aplicadas. The trends applied in Mexico. As Gina was mentioning, and in the morning, Nabil said that now we want to mention some of the trends or some enhancements that we are applying here in Mexico. The first concept I want to talk about is the connected control towers. These connected control towers in Mexico, we have more than 60 clients since we begin. We can handle inbound as well as distribution to the final clients, final customers. Within this process is a very standardized process, and we guarantee the best the best service for our clients. Our process begins when the client gives us their information. The first step is to receive the orders from our clients to our systems. And then we have a whole equipment that has to validate this information in order to assure the delivery to our final client is the correct one. We validate volumes, deliveries, addresses. We guarantee that all this information and all these deliveries are executed in the correct way. Now that we validate this information, the order management equipment has to consolidate these orders to plan these shipments. We also have another team in our control tower that makes the appointments when it is required. There are some people that ask for a specific date of delivery, so we have to assure to manage all this and get that information with the objective to plan these travels. After, our planning team has to do all this routing and the optimization of the roads. And now these vehicular controls, like the number of trips to deliver things in a way, in an optimal way, and in a standardized way. Our planning team has also has to confirm who is the carrier or the transportation line that's going to perform the services. After we execute this, we have the tracking team that assures that these units arrive on time to the distribution centers where we are going to get this product. This is important because it's the first step to guarantee the final delivery to be successful. This tracking team is going to guarantee that the shipment goes into time and order. This has to be defined to assure the delivery. When the unit goes out from the distribution center, we have a monitoring center that assures to validate during this trip not to have any problems and for this unit to arrive on time. If we have a problem or any risk, then our consultant assures to solve any problem. Our consultant has to manage with our line products, and we have to tell our clients any problem they can have and assure this delivery to be successful. Once this delivery is executed, now our evidence team is the one who gets all these documents from the delivery trip to give it back to our client. This process is very important because we have strict times, strict schedules to handle all this information to our clients. And once we close this process, now our liquidation team in our control tower is responsible to assure and validate all these costs, the expenses, and additional costs, and to free this delivery. This is the process, the general process that we follow in control tower. Now, why is it important? And what have we do to change this? And why are we successful with disconnected control towers? I was saying, we serve to more than 60 clients. Secondly, is the first control tower in Latin America, and that fortunately, it allows us to win experience, and that other countries are replicating. DHL also opened another control tower in Brazil, in Chile, where we are sharing all this information about Mexico's experience for them to be successful. On the other hand, we also attend other sectors with this control tower, the automotive sector, consumer sector, energy and retail sectors, because we can understand other schemes, work schemes. And secondly, we also work together with other sectors. During this pandemic, we had some sectors that were affected, but others grew. So through this work team, with this connected control tower, we reduced the volume, and people helped us to provide these services through other sectors. The other element is these services that we provide. From connected control tower, we provide FTL, intermodal, cross-border, and aftermarket services, or SPL, for example. Another innovations that we have implemented in this control tower, and that now are best practices in regional and globally, is the first one is OMS First Choice. OMS is our system where we do all the operations in DHL. The OMS is traditionally implemented in our storaging, but in Mexico, we did it first to implement OMS in back office in transportation. In this sense, Mexico was the first one to do it, and we had excellent results in productivity, in standardization, and we had better people, and they were more motivated in our work teams. And now OMS is a tool that is implementing in other control towers, not only in Latin America, but globally. The second best practice that we have here in Mexico is total visibility, and this concept is to integrate all this information, all the systems, and all this data that we have on them to deliver the best visibility to our clients. From when we receive the order until we execute the final delivery. Total visibility allows us to have this information closely to us, and it helps us to operate better. With this information, we know and to oversee any problem that we might have and to execute correctly these deliveries. The third best practice is APS and automatization. Gina told us that within these trends, we have automatization of programs and technologies and robots to allow us to optimize our products. This reduce the manual work, and we avoid people to do transactional work and to do better activities and more satisfactory activities. Within this, we have also this data. We have another one that is data analytics that we have here in Mexico and that we want to replicate in other countries through administration. All this information that we have in our systems, we're able to provide enhancements internally in DHL, but also to our other clients. Some other examples are that we have delivered a very detailed analysis where we tell them all these customs, these tactics and strategics. So the fact that we are exploring all this information has great benefits for us and our clients. And the most important thing, these control towers, is that we are also connected in Mexico, not only in Mexico, but we are also connected with other regions in Latin America and in other parts of the world. So this allows us to share information, share enhancements that other countries are applying, and see which ideas we can apply here in Mexico.
Thank you, Joel. As Joel mentioned, an important part of these connected control towers is that we can replicate that in Brazil, Chile, and elsewhere, and to share these practices with the rest of the world. And the replicability and global standardization is one of the DHL objectives because we can react faster to our clients. And what we can do that can be replicated everywhere, well, it is something that we have talked about in other forums. So I will tell you about how it works and more details on this solution. So the benefits of this solution, like apart from being low cost, it is also greener. According to the Association of Environment Protection in the US, approximately the 28% of CO2 tons that are released to the air because of industrial activities comes from transportation, as this is the first one in the list of emissions. From all these tons of CO2, maybe 90% come from fossil fuels like gas and diesel. Trailer is a solution. Trailer is the solution that it basically consists in solar panels. This is just a sample. It is just this thin, just as the sample, and you put these on top of the trailers. And it is a basic solar panel, and it is like 30 centimeters to 2.5 meters. For a unit of 48 feet, we need to use 3 panels like this. This can be installed in smaller trucks, and They can be installed in passenger buses, and they have TVs and air conditioners, so electricity consumption is greater, and the amount that you can save is greater with these panels. The second innovation is this little box. When I brought it, I said, "Hey, it doesn't look very modern, but what matters is what it is inside." It is a smart controller that administrates the power generated by the solar panels, and it connects with these wires to the battery of the transport unit. With this, we generate an autonomous unit, like power wise, and this is a big thing for our Go Green objective, because we want to have zero carbon emissions for 2050. So it is a very aggressive objective, and we have given steps. We have gone that way during the last years, and we think this can help us a little more in to achieve this goal. So in the years that trailer has been proved in the industry, we have had results like a 5% savings in fuel consumption. And this is seen in a transportist or in a carrier, or maybe in a tourism company for passenger transportation. So this can generate interesting savings in money. And now we have the opportunity to show you this material, because this very week we were installing this equipment in our units for the automobility sector in Puebla. And a couple of hours ago, they told me that we have lists that the first units are ready to function in Latin America. So I'm very proud of this. This is news for you, Joel.
It's a great news sector. Without any doubt, this leads us to the right path or in our strategy in the HL supply chain. We're gonna go to another technology that we are trying in the HL supply chain Mexico, and is OCR. OCR is a technology that is simple but helps us to manage productivity in our processes. OCR means optical recognition, that allows us to scan a document or an image or a photo. It allows you to identify certain data, certain important data that are relevant to our systems and to our process. One example of this technology is OCR applied to the recovery process in evidence. In our evidence, normally we have some text information that we need to reply in our TMS. So the use of this technology allows us to extract, to obtain this information every time we scan a document. And then through an RPA, we can capture or implement this system. This process is very simple. Literally, you take the document, you scan it, the software analyzes the data, it identifies what kind of document it is, and it puts it into a database. Once we have it into the database, that information, a robot can take it, the important informations, and take it to our to MS or to another system that we needed. This technology, as I say, it is simple, but it helps us a lot to win efficiency in productivity and precision in informations. That's something that our clients want.
Having information is very important, as Joel says, but it is also important to have it at the right time. Gina has shown us some smart sensors. This is not so small, but this is a sensor that you can put in the freight, and it helps to know to monitor certain things. Yes, to monitor certain things. So the first one, the most common, has a GPS on it, and this gives us a signal via Internet of Things about when the unit is at. In the main uses that these sensors have is in monitoring temperature and humidity. This is important in sectors like the food sector and the medicine sector. Mostly in this second one, the regulations are very strict to control these products throughout the supply chain. So These sensors allow our customers from this sector to monitor and have real-time alerts of any deviation that the products may have. And this sensor helps us to control also light in case the product might be photosensible, just as an alert to know if the transport unit was opened, and receiving light might be an alert of something. And these sensors can last up to 90 days with 1 day of charging, and it is replaced after several years of service. They are also motion sensitive, so in case there is a shock or something like that in delicate products, we can monitor that so we can understand where in the part of the process we had that phenomena. And in this slide, we see the reports that you can generate with these sensors. As you can see, you have like glimpse of all the whole journey. You can see the maximum temperature, the minimum temperature, the average temperature, the duration of all these three temperatures, etc. In the map, you also see the control of where exactly these events were happening. And despite old sensors, which were these little kind of tablets that if they exceeded certain temperature, they turned into a different color. And if for just a couple of seconds the temperature went up or below the range of temperature, the color changed. So we just knew when we received the transport unit that we exceeded the temperature, but we didn't know for how long or anything more. So with this, we know much more how long does this temperature was kept, and we can have better decision making to save the product and without having to throw it away or something like that. So we have alerts that it's something that the clients have said it's very useful. When we get to certain limits, you can receive an alert through your email, and these help us to take action. We can call the driver and say and check if the refrigeration unit is on, if we need to do something to the unit, and regarding if the unit is moved to somewhere else, we can have also an alert that the transport unit is going through places that we shouldn't go through, and hail fences.
Thank you, Hector. In the next theme, it is related with smart sensors. This concept of alerts, what we're looking for is to have all these events in automatically. We have done it with different initiatives and different projects. The first project is a smart sensor that provides us a lot of information during and in the delivery, as Hector said it. But another important element to get information in transit, in delivering our product to our customers, is to have the information in real time through geofences. We have a platform to administrate. We are connected with the providers of the GPS to receive information of this GPS in our platforms that allows us to have in real time visibility of the unit, if it arrived, if it went out, and allows us to evaluate if there's any risk on the way. It's the same system through the geofences and the lead times that we have defined, and using real-time information of our roads, what we do is to evaluate if the ETA, or if the estimated time of arrival, if we're doing okay or if we are not doing on time. Then our contact center has to understand these problems and report this to our clients and to manage this delivery. These geofences allows us to see how long our units are going to stay within these spaces. If the load time takes more time, then we have to manage this time. These geofences also allow us to manage time. If the system detects automatically that everything that is right, people don't have to monitor these units because everything is going okay, and these deliveries are on time. But if the geofences or the ETAs are identifying any risks, then the protocols turn on to solve any kind of problem. The second element that allows us to have logistics events is our IPOD platform. These carriers that work for DHL use this app to upload the information and the evidence. But another advantage that we have is that the carrier can send us some alerts or information about the unit when it is on the road and when it finishes the delivery. Even with this app, he can tell us if the product is rejected. And this is another element that helps the system and that allows us to have visibility to see if the unit is there, if the product has been delivered. And this can see in the OTM and in supply chain. Another important component is our jar management system. All of our distribution centers have a standard solution to assure or to measure when the units arrive to the distribution center and when they begin their load process. This is the app, let me tell you, the more basic app that we have, but this allows to have a lot of visibility to know times to assure the units to be on time or to go out on time. But we also have some specific solutions that have more value for the clients that need it. As Gina said, and Hector as well, the IoT devices are connected to the jar management that allow us to know with a highly precision where are these trucks or these containers that have loads in our distribution centers. With this precision level, we know the location, we can visualize if these lanes are occupied or empty, and to see if this truck is in an location that it doesn't need to be. Another component is RPAs. As I said before, RPAs allow us to have more information in our systems. So we get a lot of data from different entities, different sources, but RPAs allow us to replicate this information in our OTM and in my supply chain. With this, then, we can deliver information to our clients in real time or faster than they are expecting it. And lastly, all these concepts that I have mentioned conform an ecosystem that we're creating to give total visibility to our clients. Our objective is to give to our clients more and better information about their orders and their deliveries. With this, we have also have proactive alerts. These are to compare different sources of data or different information to identify if we have a risk or if we don't have it. For example, if we have a load at 6 p.m., but if this unit hasn't arrived or is it not confirmed, then we send an alert to detect which is the problem, to talk to our line production, and to see that this risk is removed. This is going to improve the level of service to our clients. As I said, all this ecosystem is connected to my supply chain. The advantage that we have is that if we have all these logistic events, is that our clients could enter to the platform My Supply Chain and see all his information in real time. And with this, they can administrate their information or to take decisions in case of any risk. Then we can also build dashboards, operable dashboards that allow our clients to make a deeper analysis of performance, of cost, and to assure all this information we are using it into the right way to give them benefits.
All these operational enhancements have an objective to simplify the day to day, and to simplify is the name of the game. In the engineering and design part of this, which is my role inside the DHL, we need to simplify things too. Our clients demand a faster speed in changes in their networks and have solutions which are faster. And because of this, we have worked with our North America team in developing a tool called D3TO, which is and that is the name D3TO. That's how we call it. So this team that we developed with them, they developed to a tool to simplify all the information we receive from our customers, because it's a lot of information and it goes into a system known as big data, as you know. So to manage this information, you need data scientists who are trained in handling certain software and languages for this. So of course, this takes time and it is costly, it requires specific training, and D3TO, what it does is that it takes all this programming and the trained user in a simple way would be able to use it like these optimizations. Now I will mention 4 pillars that D3TO will bring efficiency up. Um, it will explain us in all the in every point the pool optimization. So this says where should we have contact points to optimize the travels and also the down trip optimization. What can we do for the time of the time that we are transporting products can be the most time possible, so every time we're making money. So what do we have here? If we have our own fleet, or at least a dedicated fleet, in case we cannot own the trailers because of legislations, but we can also have the support of our carriers. And this tool, its objective is to define which are the travels that it's convenient to do with a fleet and which are those who is convenient to just give to a carrier to deliver the products from point to point. And second point is pull point optimization, and it is understood as an analytic tool. It is not very deep in detail, but it helps to identify what kind of shipments it's convenient for us to send from our warehouse to our clients, or maybe take one of these shipments or like to group them in a hub as you see in the slide, and from there make shorter travels to our customers. So this functionality of the tool can be implemented very quickly and it can save money faster in operations. Finally, we have the round trip optimization. This tool helps us to keep the freight in the vehicles. As you see here, if you have some travel from Dallas to Chicago on the same day, we do not have a travel from Chicago to Dallas directly. This platform, with all the information of one or several clients that we can build in, identifies that there is a travel that is more or less like that Lafayette, Indiana from Fairfield, Texas. So the empty space that we travel between Chicago and Lafayette and Fairfield and Dallas is relatively short. So this platform identifies some point, like some limit, to identify what is what is okay and what is not okay for these round trips. And it is simulated because it is not a point A to point B, but it is like continuous movement. And this platform is constantly evolving. We were talking in the morning with Nabil of the tendencies, the trends in e-commerce, and well, we applied more logistics into this so we can have the same day delivery with all this e-commerce that's rising up. How can we do to be faster in every way to utilize the transport units as much as possible?
Hector, thank you very much. And now we're going to Q&A. Well, thank you very much. And the first question is for Hector. Which is the return time that you are waiting into the device into trailers?
Well, it can vary. There are several factors. We cannot control some of them, like the cost of fuel. We will return our investment when if the fuel cost is lower. Also, the price of the transport unit itself. For instance, a bus passenger in which the return could be very fast, or maybe we have a transport unit that does not require the electricity part of it or refrigerations. And we think that for these last cases, the return could be for around 12 months. And I think there are some questions that are coming out, and I really think it is convenient to have electric or hybrid cars because it is easier to have these panels when you dispose these. There are some analyses that have shown all the energy that it is required to produce the panels and the batteries um, up to their disposal, and you compare that with a conventional transport unit. So the savings in CO2 tons of by having these electric or hybrid components as trailer, after 3 years of use, it is a positive ton of CO2. So if you decide to buy your own electric or hybrid car, just make sure of use it for 3 years and you will have a positive impact in the environment.
Thank you, Hector. And the next question is for Joel. Do you see a connected control tower for all the region?
Thank you. Nowadays, we are implementing with control towers. We're implementing control towers in the region. The first one was in Mexico. It is evolving to the next level. But we also have control tower in Brazil and Chile. These two control towers opened up in the last 2 years, and to be honest, they have been very beneficial to the transport operations in the countries. And the next stage is to open the next control tower in Colombia. We're working for the planning to implement this connected control tower in Colombia, but for the moment we don't see like one that will serve the whole region. Why don't we look at it that way? Because every country has particular specifications. First of all, well, the regulations and control issues. Also, the systems. Not all the countries operate with the same systems because of several reasons of business that can lead to a different business solutions in every control tower. What we do see in the short term is first to replicate the best practices that we have learned in Mexico and in other countries, maybe from Brazil and Chile experiences, and replicate that and operate in the same way. Even though the systems and the processes in some case or the regulations may not allow us to do it in the 100%, we will do some standardization in how we control or operate our control towers. So we also see that some processes could be centralized in a connected control tower for all the region. For instance, maybe to finish the travels can be a standardized operation if we have all the information of all the platforms to do that. So in the short term, we do not see a connected control tower for the full region, but what we do see is a network of control towers that operate in a standardized way with the same level of service for our clients, and that somehow in the medium term will allow us to centralize some operations and give service to the region.
Thank you, Joel. Well, time's up today, but I think this was very interesting. Thank you. Gracias,
Gracias.
Gina. Gracias, Héctor. Es muy interesante enseñarle al mundo lo que estamos haciendo. And we thank the audience participation. We invite you to connect at 4 p.m. Mexico's time to know the last conversation with our CEO, Javier Bilbao. See you soon.